All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the 18th Annual Tallgrass Film Festival. I want to thank our sponsors, all of our amazing sponsors, and everyone out there for joining us and watching the films and watching the Q&As. Without all of you, we wouldn't be able to do this. So thank you so much. If you are enjoying yourself, make sure you let everyone know on Facebook, Instagram, all your social media. Tag us in @TallgrassFilm and hashtag Tallgrass2020. I would like to welcome my guests today. We've got some members from our horror block, my favorite part of the festival, here with us today. So we've got the gang from Red Light, Green Light. And so we've got Will Martinez and Joe Martinez.
That's me.
That is you guys, directors of the film, yes. Correct? Yep. And we've got Todd Denson. He is the lead actor and the character of Josh, correct? Okay.
Correct.
Make sure I got everything right before.
No, you got it. Spot on.
Fake news. And we've got Patrick LaFoon here, the writer of the film.
Hello.
Welcome, everyone. So excited to have you here. And then we also have Zach Cron here from Matched. And so what, writer, director, cinematographer?
Yeah, you can throw some other hats in there too.
Some more things. Did everything.
I did have a food puller and a makeup artist, so at least I had some crew.
Okay, all right, cool. It's always good to have a few helping hands around when you're trying to make a movie.
Definitely helps.
So really, I mean, you know, something that I'm always kind of interests me, especially it's perfect when you've got someone from like every aspect of a film here is you know, I'm always interested in origin stories and kind of what drew you not only to making films or wanting to make films, but I mean, specifically, you know, if you specifically want to do that in horror or if you want to, you know, try more stuff out. So, I mean, Will, what was it that kind of drew you to making movies?
It was probably when me and Joe's dad got our little, like, you know, hi8 recorder, like video camera, and we were just shooting films in the backyard. Gather up all the kids in the neighborhood and just make them wear like old Halloween costumes and stuff. But we've always just been drawn to horror, like our entire lives. I think when we first, it was our dad actually turning us on to the old Abbott and Costello Frankenstein, Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. And then from there, that was like our introductory, and then we just kept going from there.
Yeah, you were getting some of the classics there.
Oh yeah,
real master class.
Grew up on Bela Lugosi and all the classic guys.
Awesome, sure. Awesome. And Joe, anything else you'd like to add to that?
I mean, I don't know if it's obvious, but we are identical twins, and that's just creepy in itself. So I think as being kids, we were just always going towards, like, you know, the kids in the hall at the end of the hallway, you know, like in The Shining. Mm-hmm. But no, we just loved horror, and it's stuck, and now we still make horror. So
yeah,
that's awesome. I always wanted to, you know, you always hear about like Sam Raimi and people like that, and they just get the camera and they get the kids in the neighborhood together. And I wish I had been a little bit more industrious as a youngster and gotten into it that early, because the results show in your film. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Todd, so what brought you to the world of filmmaking and acting and all that stuff?
I think probably early on, definitely, you know, to use this stereotypical like Star Wars reference to any of those sorts of things, but like that was just something that drew me in initially. My early experience with like filmmaking and acting and things like that was definitely, I was born and raised in the kind of the Southeast, so wrestling was a huge thing. So putting together like on a trampoline with the neighborhood kids and like producing the arguably worst made videos ever was probably my initial kind of like experience in the filmmaking realm. And then again, like learning about just taking film classes in college and learning about, you know, Val Lewton and like, of course, like Bela Lugosi and Hitchcock and all these sorts of like influences that come during that sort of time really drew my interest in kind of like horror. And then these guys started making a film, and they're like, hey, you want to be a part of it? And I was like, 100%. So it was
awesome.
Honor.
Did you ever dip your toe in the world of professional wrestling?
I did not.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
No, exactly. I know, right? It's super unfortunate. Although it's so funny that like I did try because I'm like a little bit of a slider guy. I'm like 5'8", like buck 45. So I'm not like one of the, like the big, guys that I felt like I had to be. So I was always like attached to like Rey Mysterio Jr. and like those sorts of like Eddie Guerrero and those sorts of like smaller high flyers. So it's like super nimble. But no, I can't say that I ever.
I'd love to see it.
Got my shot.
By the end of this, we need to come up with his professional wrestling name.
That's actually why we brought everybody together, was to figure out how to put Todd into a WWE film. So thanks for joining me today.
And Patrick, what brought you to filmmaking? What made you want to write?
I made like my first like horror movie when I was like 10, and it was terrible, but it was like about an ice monster that came to Earth from like another planet. And I don't even remember the rest of it, but I had like tinfoil all over my body to pretend to be like icicles and stuff. And you mentioned like Sam Raimi and him getting his start with his buddies shooting on Super 8 and everything. And in high school, I read Bruce Campbell's If Chins Could Kill. And I was like, oh my God, I want to be Bruce Campbell when I grow up. So from then on, it just like, I was like, I want to make scary movies. That, and I owe a lot to Child's Play, the horror movie. I caught a marathon of that one night when I was way too young, and horror stuck with me ever since. I realized, wow, people make this, like at first I was horrified, but then I was like, people get to create this for people to do it in a safe place. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's essential as far as horror goes, is that the kind of the release and everything that, people get just from being able to experience something kind of dangerous and
yeah, risky. It's a roller coaster for your brain,
Yeah. Well, very cool. I was definitely inspired by a lot of 80s fare and the video store for sure, because let me pick out a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that was like a Friday night ritual for me and my friends. It's like, go to the video store and let's try to. We were looking for the worst of the worst, but sometimes the gem would come out of there,
Absolutely. So Zach, so what made you want to tell stories and make movies?
I actually started off more in front of the camera as an actor, and then wasn't doing as much and got bored and shot my first short, like 7-8 years ago, or whatever math that might be. And then people kind of like, hey, that's not bad. You want to shoot my movie? So I started shooting more and being more of a cinematographer. And then I was like, well, let me direct a little bit more. So I've been doing that more. And this is actually my first dipping the toe into the realms of horror, as it were.
Oh, okay, cool.
So
are
it's
you
more of a suspense thing than a horror thing, but it's the same premise, and I was trying to have a couple different nods to classic horror tropes, as it were, with this film. And so far, people are enjoying it, so I guess I didn't miss the mark too much.
No, I think it's great. I do think that you were able to pull some definite, like you said, some kind of nods and some kind of things that any film goer, but especially horror film goers, can kind of relate to and kind of attach themselves to. And no, great work. So do you miss acting, or do you find that you kind of fell into what you were really, really meant to do? I mean, do you find yourself more comfortable directing?
I miss it sometimes, and it's weird. As an actor, I don't want to make any decisions. I want somebody to tell me what they want and everything else. But as a director or cinematographer, I know exactly what I want usually. And I'm like, no, this is what we're doing. And if somebody comes up with something else, obviously, if my actor's like, hey, can we try this? Or they'll do something else. I'm like, I didn't think of that, but that's amazing. Let's go with that. So it's different, but it's still creative. I still get that satisfaction. And then my best friend directs a lot of films, and I shoot him, and he'll usually write me in a cameo or something if he can. He's like, I want to have bigger roles for you, but I need you behind the camera.
Yeah. That's always the issue when it's a shoestring budget or a small crew. Everyone's wearing so many hats, and it can get a little messy. Speaking of just creative. I mean, so you in Matched, so where did Matched come from? Because is it built around the premise that you wanted to shoot the whole thing by light of a lit match? But I mean, was that the impetus of it, and then you built the story around that, or where did it come from?
Yeah, pretty much kind of came around from that. I've had different ideas for shooting something around a campfire or a fireplace or something else for a long time, and nothing was quite working out. And then one night I was at my parents' house, just sitting in front of the fire with the pad of paper. I'm like, all right, I got to write something. And it kind of came to me. It's like, oh no, do this, just a match, blackout, horror, nod to all that you can, throw in a little twist, and just kind of came from that. But yeah, it was also a little bit of a technical challenge for myself as well to not overlight everything, because sometimes you're on a film shoot and you don't have a lot of people, and you want to light it and make it look great, and sometimes you don't have the time. And I make my living, not pandemic times, as a lighting technician on set, so I'm like, hey, I can do this lighting trick, I could do that, it'll be great. And then this, I can't do any of that. I have a match and maybe a bounce board, and that's it.
Yeah, and what, like some moonlight? Is that real?
Yeah, you
real
can see
moonlight?
in the shot behind me, I had some light coming in the window for that particular shot, but nothing else has any light other than the match that's in her hand. And then, you don't know how long your take's going to be. You don't know how long that match is going to last. And sometimes it lasts a little too long, and sometimes it doesn't last long enough.
Yeah, that's what I thought was just crazy about it, because it's kind of like every time, like you smoke a cigarette in a scene, then all of a sudden it's like you got to just relight a new cigarette every time because of the continuity and like all that sort of stuff. And so, when I was like, man, you got an actress walking through a household in her underwear, she's holding a lit match while she walks and like acts, and then it goes out and she lights another one. I was curious how difficult you found that throughout the process.
Wasn't nearly as bad as one might think. I mean, it was tricky. It was problematic. And, some of them were like, all right, how do we feel about this match? And Ash was like, I feel like this one's going to last just the right time. Also, I had the box of matches, and I used different matches than the ones that came in the box because they burned a little bit brighter, and I needed every little bit of light that I could get. And that was a whole other little weird process. It's like, well, I need to find the brightest burning matches I can find. Yeah, I mean, we did it in one evening. The sun set, started shooting, wrapped a little before midnight. Went a little later than I thought, but what film shoot doesn't go a little bit later than you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, it worked out well.
Cool. Yeah, no, that was one thing that I thought was kind of awesome about just getting these two films together, for starters, is the playing with the darkness and then the light coming in, and the darkness and the light. And it kind of reminded me of Lights Out, like Sandberg and that kind of thing. And so I liked it a lot. In Red Light, Green Light, where did this project come from? What inspired you to make that, and how did it come about? I guess I'll just throw it out to whoever wants to jump
Patrick.
in.
That's a Patrick question.
Well, we'd all kind of worked together before on another short that we did. We did VR short together, and we're like, let's keep making horror. And so I was writing a feature, and I was trying to think of like a new way to do zombies. And I was like, what's a new twist on zombies? And so I came up with the idea of just like a mannequin zombie, where it's like somebody who's infected is like, they can't move if you're looking at them, and sort of like a self-defense mechanism thing. And then if you're not looking at them, they can move toward you. And yeah, I don't know. I reached out to Joe, I think, and it was just like, or maybe we were having a beer or something. I was just like, oh my God, I had this idea. And then from there, he's just like, yeah, we could do this. So
yeah, I think it definitely, I remember it occurred to me, I was like, this has that simple, scary vibe of the Lights Out short, where I was like, it's really easy to understand. And it's a little bit more complex than Lights Out, but we, that was sort of part of the inspiration, I think, for the pacing and the look and the feel. And then also
It Follows.
Yeah.
Yes.
Looked a lot at the old maid scene where Jay's in class and she sees the old woman in the hospital gown outside of her window. Like, just examine that like crazy, and how do you build that terror? And yeah, definitely a big influence too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also was inspired by the booze from Super Mario World.
Yeah. Oh,
I was just
of
like, I
course.
love that simple anxiety-inducing thing of like, if you don't look at them, they fly at you.
Coming at you.
Getting creeped out just talking about the booze.
Yeah.
I know. God. Oh, that's I mean, I gotta give it to you. That's $1 million idea, man. I think you're right. I think when you're struck with how do we do zombies, but like mannequins, and I mean, I don't know, just the way that you described that, I was like, oh yeah, no, someone will buy that up. So then Todd, you were brought in. You said you knew everyone, right?
So yeah, I knew everyone. I worked on the VR short
cool.
that with these guys as well. And they made the mistake of asking me to do it again. So I was like, all right, cool. Yeah,
well, the real story is that we wanted to cast Todd's mustache. He was attached to it.
Yeah, it was a package deal.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that had to go bye. Just a couple different opportunities popped up, and I was like, oh man, but I miss it. I'm like this close to like actually having going to like a mustache guy in North Hollywood and having him like recreate so I can just have it at any time. I honestly think that I'm gonna research that this week and make that happen. I've been thinking about doing it for a while, and I'm like, it's gonna happen.
I had one earlier this year. We shot like a Western and I had this like rockin' mustache. It was huge.
Nice.
But then once masks came into play, then like it just didn't work. It was awful. And all it takes is that one day where it's bugging me and I go, yep, gone. Get rid of it.
Yeah. See, I'm just so sporadic with my that change of looks. Of just like, I was like one night I was like, oh, it wasn't even for necessarily a project. I was like, oh, I think I'll shave it off. And it was like, that's a big decision. It's not, because it takes a fairly substantial amount of time to grow. It was like, whatever. And then some things came up, so I had to keep it going. But yep. Looking forward to bringing it back though.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the feature, Patrick.
So the actress that played Gina was like really incredible.
Oh, she's amazing.
Yes. How I mean, did it come pretty naturally, or how hard was it to get her to really, I mean, I don't know. I felt like it was like watching like the best model in the world, like the poses and everything that she was doing were just intense.
So me and Will have known, her real name is Gina Bishop. We've known her since high school, and she has a dance background and is an actress. And we were like, who could play this? Gina. Because, I mean, think about what she's accomplishing. She's walking backwards and also scaring the shit out of you with her. But like, as you said, it also has this kind of beauty to it, right? Like, she knows how to make interesting angles with her body. And we did like a little rehearsal a couple days before the shoot, and then just kind of, she's like, oh, I could do this. And then we were like, hell yeah, you can do this. Like, we were happy with everything she did. And yeah, there was fun to
with baby oil.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she had no problem. So she does a thing, we're out here in Los Angeles, and she does a thing in North Hollywood called Zombie Joe's Underground, which is like a performance troupe of people that have this small like black box style theater. They do like horror and creepy stuff. So she's very much entrenched in that world, and it comes very natural to her. And she was amazing.
Wow. That was like a perfect fit. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Zach, how did you go about casting your film? Where'd you find your talent?
Let's see. The actress I had met a few years ago at a film festival, she had won an award the year before, so she went back to it just as an audience member, didn't have anything in it, just to support the festival and watch films. And I had something I had shot in there, and I think I had a cameo in that film too. And so she we chatted a little bit and then kind of kept in touch, and then run into her in a lot of other local festivals. And she's done quite a few little horror shorts and things like that. And it's like, oh, I think she might be a pretty good fit for this. How's she gonna react when I ask her to just be in her underwear? Because we hadn't, didn't know each other all that well. And that part was fine. I explained it and she understood. And I brought on a female hair and makeup person so that I had another female on set with her so that she would feel comfortable and safe and not worry about anything, because that is important. And the actor I wound up casting just put a thing out on Actors Access and asked people to submit and, make up some little audition line. I think I had them try to give me a very creepy smile and then do the Joey, how you doing line, because there were no lines written for the actor in the script. So I was like, well, I need to see if you could pull this off. Like 500 people submitted.
Wow.
And I invited 50 to send video auditions and only 10 actually did.
Okay.
But Andrew was one of them. I'm like, no, I think this is going to work. And then, showed the film to a friend a couple weeks ago who is a fight director and is familiar with a lot of my work. She's like, well, he nailed what he needed to do. I'm like, all right.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he comes in with like the punchline for the whole film. So you gotta make sure you got someone who's gonna stick the landing.
Yeah, and it's hard because I want to promote the film and have him in some of the pictures, but I can't.
Right.
It would ruin everything. So
it's gonna spoil. No spoilers. And so did she find it difficult at all throughout? I mean, were you able to work with her pretty well as far as, you said you shot it in one evening?
Yes.
One night? Wow.
Yeah. Well, when you don't have a lot of lighting setups, that helps. Thanks, Doc. I mean, I had a couple little things I had to set up ahead of time and a couple gags and, setting up the blackout, establishing and the overhead shot and a couple things. There was some stuff I could do during daylight hours before anyone got there. But yeah, we shot it in 1 hour. It helped that I brought on a focus puller. Most of the time I wind up running the camera entirely by myself. But for this one, since I was going handheld and I knew I wasn't going to be able to futz with the dial too much, and being in low light to bring on somebody who that's what they do. And that's all they're going to do all day and do that. And that wound up working out really well. But no, the actress was great. Loved working with Heather. I pretty much would, explain what I needed. And since she's, pretty familiar with, she's more familiar with horror than I am. And so when I would kind of explain, like, well, I'm trying to sell this, and this is what's happening, and I need this. And she's like, okay. And then we do it and, tweak it as needed. And it was tricky because, like you said, she only had to, she had to deal with the match, so she was doing all the lighting too and trying to time it out and make it work and get those beats in while there was still illumination. But I mean, probably a third or more of the film is in darkness. And one day I'll have to watch all 3 minutes of it and see exactly how much is black. But
no, I thought she did a phenomenal job, and kudos to you for steering the ship there. Yeah. So Will, Joe, what's what's next then? Are you got everyone clamoring to turn this thing into a feature or what?
Yeah, well, hopefully, right? We do think it's $1 million idea, that's for sure. We were like, this could, I know we've talked about this. What does it look like as a feature? How do we extend this small idea, So yeah, hey, we're open to anybody that wants to go into development. And that's what we're doing right now. We're just in development on a few other ideas and just we're pitching stuff and, doing that whole thing.
Sweet.
A lot of Zoom meetings these days.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Will. So, I mean, I know just kind of, again, it's kind of a package deal, but
yeah, exactly.
It's a
package deal. No, exactly. Yeah, we're pitching a lot. And then I know Todd is actually kind of putting on a producer hat for this project. We're trying to get off the ground called Truck Stop Tales. It's an anthology horror. because we need more anthology horror
Always.
in our lives. Yeah. And so yeah, that's probably the next one we're looking at.
Sweet. So Todd, you're going producerial, and anything else you're on the horizon?
Got a few irons in the fire, so to speak, as far as auditions. Thankfully, have popped back up and kind of like getting some cool stuff going. Things that I would love to share, but I don't know if I'm able to, so I'm not going to.
Totally get it.
But yeah, like these guys said, hopefully we can. We've already definitely got the ball rolling considerably as far as like the project Truck Stop Tales, and just looking to kind of like further that along, lock down a couple key components to that, and just moving in a very, very positive direction. And hopefully in the next few weeks, definitely have something a little bit more exciting to announce that, we'll see.
Oh,
Yeah,
I can't wait. That
yeah.
sounds awesome. I'm always in for anthology horror. I think it's a really cool way to attack things, and I think it's just always fun. So, Patrick, you're writing a bunch. What's happening with you? What's up next for you?
Oh, so much writing, lots of pitching, just trying to get as many things going as possible. I was fortunate that earlier this year, right before COVID like really took over, I got to write and produce a short film in Tokyo. So hopefully I've seen the final cut now. That's all done. And so that's starting to that's out with festivals now. So hopefully we get into a few in the coming months. I think we find out starting in like December. So
That's
that was the big one.
Man, congratulations. That's awesome.
Thanks.
And Zach, what's up next for you?
Mostly just doing this one for now. I've got 2 other scripts in the works. One of them I probably will miss out on my weather window to shoot if I'm trying to deal with a location. That is, again, of course I picked something where the location is a key part of the story, and finding that right one is tricky. And another one, same sort of thing. It takes place in a hospital, not during COVID. And I'm like, well, that's not going to work.
It's problematic. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely problematic. I mean, I'm in New York City, and there's a hospital like 6 blocks away that, they filmed Joker at, and they filmed some other stuff at, and I've worked there on lighting, and like they would have a whole floor. They're like, well, we don't use this floor between these hours anyway. I'm like, huh. But I don't think any of that is even remotely feasible to even try anything for. And then there's another project that's a little bit of a series of short films in the same universe, same characters that I shoot all of them and do the cameos, and we're trying to get the next one shot. But again, with COVID, we're like, well, we've got a cast of like 6 people, and 3 of us are already kind of in the same quarantine group anyway, but the other people are not. One of them, went to her folks' house in North Carolina, and the other one went back home to Louisiana. And I'm like, okay, well, we're not going to ask people to travel for this short film. So we're just kind of waiting. So it's just like, do what you can, try to do whatever pre-production, whatever writing, do all the little things that you said you were going to do at the beginning of the quarantine. Hey, You've got a bag of gels, organize them and label them and throw out what you'll never need. That still hasn't happened.
We had grandiose ideas in March, didn't we?
Yeah.
Or April.
Today today or last night I checked 2 things off the list that had been on since February. I'm like, hey, well, I did that finally.
I'm going to get so much done this year. Yeah, it's a sad state of affairs, but we're all getting through it and making it happen. I'm so glad to have all of you here with us today. One other thing I like to do too, just because I always like to hear, one of your favorite horror films of all time. I know, Zach, you said you're not always in the horror realm, but one of your favorite horror films of all time. Will?
You know what? I already brought it up, but It Follows was definitely like one of my most favorite in recent times for sure. Yeah, that or Green Room. If you consider Green Room a horror film, which I think it could pass, but
Yeah.
Saulnier rules.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I'll blow my mind. Yeah.
Joe?
I already brought mine up as well, but The Shining is one of my go-to all-time favorites. Love that movie.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
Good one. I
Todd?
can't say it, but
No.
I gotta go John Carpenter Halloween, man.
Oh,
Ooh,
yeah.
Really, like
Classic.
change the game of slashers. So
Classic. Patrick?
Yeah, I was gonna say John Carpenter's Halloween as
Oh,
well.
sorry,
I love that movie so much. But also, you know what? I'm a huge fan of like J horror, so I'm gonna go with Ringu or maybe Dark Water. Like, I like that slow burn, dread filled
Yeah.
horror. You know.
Just creeps in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. And Zach?
it's probably not so much horror as suspense or thriller. But I'll go with Rear Window.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
maybe
No, that's a nice choice.
Also, probably because I'm in a New York City apartment, and that's my view, and I've been in there for quite some time. First couple months, you're like, it's ridiculous here. No one's going outside, and yeah.
Yeah.
So I go with that.
Well, thank you guys so much for being here. This has been awesome. Make sure, you get Truck Stop Tales done. You send it on over this way. We want to check it out.
for sure.
And we got to find a way to get everyone from 2020 class here to Wichita, because we miss seeing everyone here in town with us. So thank you all so much for joining. Thank you all so much for joining, watching the films, watching the Q&As. Make sure you vote for your audience award winners. That's very important. Vote for Matched. Vote for Red Light, Green Light. Give all the other ones a vote. Come on. Vote. Not just now, but also in November. And thank you guys so much. We will talk soon, okay?
Awesome. Thanks.
All right.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ryan.
Fine.